Now
Here we
feast for
go.
my crows.
Nah, leave all that stuff in the past, man. Ugh. See, I want to get into Marvel Rivals again, but I get so mad. It's like Overwatch fatigue just makes me
I
tired, man.
mean,
Oh
mm,
man. But anyways,
that's well.
good morning, good evening, good night, and good afternoon, everybody. This is Think Sync. I'm your host Zeke,
And I'm your host, Rich.
and this is another amazing day in June. It is way too hot to be recording anything, but considering it was also way too cold to record anything, way too normal to record anything, way too polleny to record anything, I guess eventually we just had to give up and make it work, right, Rich?
Absolutely. We just had to sit down, record, and think a little bit. Just think
Yeah,
on
man.
this.
And now we're synced up,
Um,
ready to hit again.
yeah, I'm glad to be back, glad to be posting again. We're here for season two. It's happy 2025. It's the new year, and a lot of breakup stories been going on. RIP to Trump X out Elon, my favorite shipping
Man,
anime.
not for real, but I mean, like in new news, I guess you could say Elon did officially apologize to Trump on his platform X as well, Twitter
But
as well. And I think it's really funny because it's just like middle school all over again. No, you didn't
literally,
say I was good looking. I said you was good looking. Now what's good looking? Now you just want to copy me. Oopa
copy.
doopa doopa doopa. Your beautiful bill is crazy. It's gonna bankrupt everybody and lead us in a recession. Elon has terrible defense Department of Defense contracts, and we're gonna yank him away because
How
he's
dare
too
you
rich
say
for me.
that?
Oh my gosh. Ooh ooh ooh.
Oh my
Anyways,
god. That's exactly how they
so
talk to each other, especially on Twitter, where that's like their playground, bro. It just
literally, bro. And it's funny because I forgot that Trump has his own platform called Truth, and I'm not getting. We
ha,
don't have an account there. I just want y'all. This
that's
is not
false.
play promo. This might even be close to like disrespect, but I think it's so stupid to have a your own. Like the president should not have his own media outlet. Like it just shouldn't be
Yeah,
done. Like jokes aside, there's no reality where someone who has so many hands in different things is able to remain nonpartisan on any of
partial.
these things.
Hmm.
Like you're going to
You're
grow
going to have a
bias.
bias. You're
Yeah,
you're going to push your agenda at some point, whether unwittingly or willingly.
exactly that. So it makes me tired, but that's not the point of today's episode. So
Absolutely.
to the point of today's episode, Rich, we were talking about this before. We've gone to see a few movies since we've been out, and we don't have to name them in any particular order. But what are some of your like just top 10
Sinner,
movies?
sinner, 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 sinner. Let me stop.
Oh my God. Okay, so Rich like Sinners kids.
No.
But aside
Top
from that,
10.
like not even top 10, but just 10 out of 10 movies, top five. Like, what's a movie you just love?
So, movies, as people kind of know me, I'm a movie critic. I'm a little bit of a snob. I don't like all movies that I go see. Like
Because some
most
people don't
things
like
get
to know themselves.
most like I give a lot of things I enjoy six and a halves, and people are like six and a half is like six and a half is better than mid. It's good. I
But
enjoyed
that's
it.
the thing. Like, we've
It's
talked
just
about this
boring.
before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, mid isn't bad. It just means it's a movie. It's nothing special, nothing bad. It's just something you sat down, watched, might watch again. And that's
Absolutely.
okay. It's like E.T. E.T. is a great movie,
E.T. is
but
a great freaking movie. Funny, so funny. I will put that on in the background and just watch it. I don't have to watch it. I'm
yeah,
not saying it's the best thing ever, but it's really good to have on stuff. Like, okay, this may be slander, but a lot of people like Adam Sandler movies. I love Adam Sandler movies. Adam Sandler movies are a 7 or 8. No, but like they're super enjoyable. You totally watch
I love
them.
Adam Sandler.
Everyone loves Adam Sandler. Who doesn't what? Who
Uncut
doesn't love
Gems,
America's Dad?
Click,
What?
um,
But
Grown Ups,
to answer the
22.
question, my 10 out of 10s,
Mhm.
I don't have that many 10 out of 10s because 10 out of 10 is a perfect movie. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is definitely one of them.
Yeah, definitely that.
No,
Spider-Verse was amazing.
Spider-Verse was amazing, and it's hard. It's gonna be hard to compete with a movie that sound. It's just sound. Um, but then I have 10 out of 10s that I also consider just my favorite. Maybe they're not the greatest movie ever, but Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, 10 out of 10. It hits every emotional beat. It hits every plot thread in a way that makes you hurt. it
Yeah.
hits it really well, even if it's not super well executed. Spider-Man 3 specifically. Spider-Man 2 is a masterpiece. For Sam Raimi. Um, but yeah, 10 out of 10s. I'd have to come up with the top five. Because what is a top five 10 out of 10 movie? Django?
Well, really?
No. The Hateful Eight?
You and I are different.
I don't know.
We're very different. I have top tens. I have real top tens. And I have 10 out of
Mm,
10. Like
okay.
those are the movies I love. Number one, Intergalactic. Like Intergalactic,
Valid.
the and not Intergalactic like the freaking space movie, even though that's a really good movie as well.
Mhm.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard great things. Um, I think my very favorite movie is Intergalactic, the cartoon, like ENTR.
Mm.
I think it hits, like you said, every emotional beat, but I think the soundtrack is to die for. I
And
think
that
the art is
Spider-Verse
to die
animation?
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah, yeah,
Spider-Verse
yeah.
animation. We're not gonna take away from that movie by putting it under another movie's get. Don't do that to me.
No,
Um,
not at all. It's just, that's
you
the
do not
colloquial term. That's the,
as an artist, Ray,
that's what
like
the
if I went
normies know.
wow, so if I went and looked at your art and was like, "Oh yeah, look at this Goku ass painting," you'd be pretty mad, wouldn't you?
You're right, I would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, so don't even play this game with me. I will not take that. Like, how dare you? Anyways, great art, great premise. I love urban fiction in that regard. Like, I love a good street movie, but it doesn't have to be you're going in the hood. I like the idea that city love is still love. And I like that being a human in a world where just being a human is all you can be is so emphasized in that movie. Like it was such a part of the movie that was just like, hey man, I'm just a guy living as a guy. You're a girl living as a girl, and we have complications. We have feelings, depth, thoughts, we have actions, and we have actions we regret as much as actions we love and cherish. And I cannot solely be for the plight of you. I have to be for myself as well. I love movies like that. That's why it's my number one movie of all time. On the opposite end of things, I have Die Hard because yippee ki yay, mother lover. That movie, that movie. Have you seen Die Hard?
Nope.
Dude, watch Die
Unfortunately.
Hard, come back next week, and you will literally start off the episode with I watched Die Hard. I kid you not. That movie
That's my
is
project.
that movie is more than enough to make any cinephile just fall in love. On that list is also Creed with Michael B. Jordan. I think Michael B. Jordan is an amazing actor. I think he brings any role to life, and I think that beyond that, he's so good at playing different parts of himself and parts that are nowhere near himself. He immerses himself in those roles, and I like the way he trains for them. Like he talked a lot about his training in different like movie interviews and stuff like that. But I don't think there's been a movie where he didn't talk about his preparation
Mm.
and stuff like that. And like I'm just always like
But Creed
amazed
is
by
in depth.
yeah. Yeah, he was huge. He
He's
was
huge.
huge in Creed. He was huge in Black Panther. He was huge. Well, he wasn't huge in Sinners because he didn't take his shirt off. Shout out not being having to take his shirt. But it's like Michael B. Jordan just he takes on his roles and becomes that role.
Exactly.
Anyways, love it. And then my favorite comedy is probably Bullet Train. It's just really funny.
You call
I watch
Bullet Train a comedy?
it's a dramedy, action
A
comedy,
Drew, an action comedy? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a really funny movie, dude.
It
It's
is.
one of
It's
the funniest
hilarious.
movies I've ever watched. Like I watched it 3 nights in a row. Like I loved
The
I
evolution of
loved it.
the evolution of like gag bits and like physical humor is so amped in that movie. It's really fun.
And there was like 7 plots.
Seven
It was
plots
so
is
well
all
done.
intertwining. 10 out of 10
It felt like
movie.
improv. Good.
That is on my top five.
Yeah. And there was one more movie, and when I said Bullet Train, I thought of it, but I lost it already. I'm heartbroken now. It was a really good movie. Oh, Black Panther. I think Black Panther isn't a 10 out of 10 movie, but I think that as an experience, it was a 10 out of 10 experience. It felt so redeeming as a black young boy to love on that movie the way I got to. I watched Black Panther 4 times in its first opening week. We had a
Four
field trip to watch
times.
Black Panther. I watched it
Mhm.
on my own. I think I watched it with you guys. And then I watched it with my parents. I watched
Wow.
it and watched it and watched. I loved that movie. I really did. That made my ninth grade year special
The atmosphere
because
of that
I felt
movie
like
is so
anything.
peak.
and then all the
Ah,
stars coming to finish it off. Tell me what you want to do to me. Competition ain't nothing to do to me. Like, come on, Kendrick. You could be a bully beast.
yeah.
Sorry, you can't
So
be the
you
truth
can
to me.
give your truth in me.
Anyways. Um,
You know what I'm saying?
um, Jeez, man, what a great movie. What a great experience. And on the topic of movie experiences, obviously you want to talk about Sinners. Obviously, you want to just bring that to our attention after you so passionately, passionately went Sinners. So let me hear
Citizen.
it. What did you feel when
Sin,
you watched Sinners?
Sinners. Okay, my official rating, guys. Richard's movie ratings. It's a 9.5 out of 10. It's such a well made movie. Almost like, which I guess this makes sense because I think that I heard somewhere, I don't know if this is true, I didn't fact check it, but like Christopher Nolan is like Ryan Coogler's like kind of mentor. They kind of have a working relationship.
Yeah,
And because he was showing him for Sinners how to film in IMAX and kind of mentoring him through that process. And
yeah,
I was like, this invokes the same feelings I get from Christopher Nolan movies,
yeah.
like Tenet or like Inception or any of those Christopher Nolan movies.
It
It's
does.
that same feeling, is that same thematic impact. Oh my gosh, Sinners
Because
is a
go
great
ahead.
movie. What do you think about it?
Well, even before I say that, you're right because it's something about the way that directors who truly understand the camera and understand like the eye they need to have for these things to come apart and just like really like take over in the way they do.
Mm,
It's really a sight to see. And you're right. I didn't even think about how it does play like a Christopher Nolan movie, but you're right. You're 100% right. Sinners was an experience that left me speechless the rest of the night. I watched it with my girlfriend, and there were moments where we were like, and we were like, don't go in there. And we were like, whoa. And it was really good because neither of us like horror movies, but it was so much
mm.
more than that that I just really appreciated it. I want to say congratulations to the entire cast and
The
production team
entire
because
cast.
they are the current number one horror movie, what you call it, of this year so far. And they,
Woo!
man, I'll tell you, they took it by storm. They really did. And I
Yeah,
remember where how people took it so seriously. I want to say it was Variety that was, well, Sinners had this budget and they need this much to pass their budget. Ha ha ha! Looks like they won't be able to do it. And they didn't literally say ha ha. They didn't, but it just felt that way on Twitter. And I
bro.
don't know if they, I don't know, bro. It just made me want to watch it again.
Hating against the world. Right. Let me give them more
Right.
money so they can pass
Literally.
the bill. They deserve it.
Literally.
It's the one movie that I regret not seeing twice in theaters. It's the one
Yeah.
movie I regret not seeing twice in theaters. I don't know why I was sleeping for so long. I um am going to watch that movie at least 3 more times before I can give an honest like review of like all the themes that you see and all the characters, and just to see Michael B. Jordan play two different characters so that way I can get double of Michael B. Jordan in the things I see, obviously.
I can get that. But speaking of themes, I honestly have a few I wrote down if you want to hear them.
Yeah,
Because,
talk
like,
to me, talk to me.
I'm not gonna lie, after I watched that movie, I literally could not help but to write everything I thought down. Like, I didn't talk at all. I went straight to bed because I just had to type it up and go to sleep. I was like, my mind needs rest. I felt so heavy. But for my different, like the themes I caught from the movie, obviously the seven deadly sins. What is that? Greed, wrath, envy, sloth, pride, lust, and what is it? I don't know. The other one.
Uh,
Greed, envy, lust,
greed, envy, lust,
and
and sloth,
gluttony.
and
That's the
gluttony.
second one,
Mhm.
gluttony. I think all those things in the movie were there, but also temptation, redemption, homecoming, skinfolk and kinfolk, what it means to be safe, listening,
Mhm.
love, loneliness, jealousy, power of ancestors and ancestry, which I think is
Mhm.
different. Music, the power of music, following your dreams, the cause of a good time, and representation. Obviously, we can't go through all of those. And I think a few of those are just kind of like in your face. But just to touch on some I really, really felt. Obviously, kinfolk and skinfolk and what it means to be safe, right? Not obviously, but kinfolk and skinfolk, what it means to be safe, just because, when you come to a place where everybody looks like you expect to have a great time. You expect it to be safe. You expect it to be one where you can kind of like take off that mask that we don't know we wear around
Mhm.
certain folks. And in that movie, I think that vampirism was a great representation of what it's like when you're around those who don't necessarily signify that same behavior for whatever reason.
Mhm.
They've adjusted in a different lens. They have taking on a different like role, and they're almost intentional in the way that they snipe at your peace and your happiness because they want you to be in that same place as them. It's very much crabs in a barrel like, which I'll eventually talk about later, but it was really interesting to see certain characters come alive as vampires aside from when they were human. Like, oh my gosh. Um my boy who played Cornbread, for instance, like his funniest role in a long time. I forget his name. I don't know why I do. But I'm gonna remember his name later. But it
You
was
don't want me to
like,
tell you? I was about to pull it up. You
oh, I mean,
want you want to know?
I just pulled it up myself, honestly.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, but like as he came alive in the role, like Omar Benson Miller, that's my boy, Omar Benson
Oh my
Miller. He was in Transformers too. He's just funny. He always shows up and does really funny stuff. But I'm happy they got to give him a like one where he talked and like showed us that he's just a funny guy.
God.
But it was really interesting because when he became a vampire, he's like, well, we're all supposed to be kind to one another and all that. And it was just, you look at this guy, and you're really looking at him, and you just see the hunger. And I'm like, wow, they displayed this really well.
Right?
You never really know when somebody's secretly out to hurt you or harm you. And he had the skin, he had the look, but he wasn't the person he was at one point. And he was aiming purely to take them away from what made them great. And so it's just like, dang, black folk really just can't have a good time, huh?
Right.
um, and I also like the power of ancestry was so highlighted well in the movie. Um, just that huge scene where Sammy's singing and his gift comes to life, and we see different eras of Black history, and even just like African
Around him
history, African
with
American history. Yeah, like it was
Chinese
beautiful.
American history. It was
Yes,
beautiful.
that
It
was
was alive.
fire. That was
It was fire
fire.
because I wasn't expecting them to bring that aspect in, but
I
when
wasn't either.
they pan past them, and then you see them in like traditional dancing, and then hip hop dancing, and like
Right.
it was so alive, and that's how being absorbed in music that connects people. That's how it feels. That's how it feels
That
in
is
the
how it
club.
feels. That is definitely how it feels. Because when you're like in the movement, you're in the moment, and you're like really just like you are listening to music. You're right. It feels exactly like that. Like, what's that song you love? It's an older song. Um, it's oh my gosh, who
Is
sings
it
it?
is it
I see
Lloyd?
the crystal raindrops fall and the beauty of it
Beauty
all.
of it all when the
Who sings that?
sunlight
Just the
coming
two of us. Bill
through.
Withers. Is that Bill Withers? No, it's not Bill Withers. It's it is Bill Withers.
No, let me check.
No.
Yeah, it is Bill Withers. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Okay.
W knowledge
Yeah,
and
like just
Grover Washington Jr.
and Grover Washington. That's I
There we
always try
go.
to remember his name as well because I always lose it. But that song makes me feel so much like that. Like I just feel like I'm able to embrace the same feelings that came from a song so long ago. And it connecting us is a very important note because without it, we don't really know who we are. And it's just a blessing to have. And that movie told us don't take that for granted. We're already on stolen land, already hands washed with the blood of those who weren't able to make the journey alongside us. You know, we walk on the backs of so many of the fallen without even realizing what it took for us to get to this place. Like we live in Georgia, in the deep south, unlike countrywide, you know? And one of the biggest things I remember is that Georgia was a penal colony. It was one of the largest slave landing locations because it's so close to the Caribbean.
Mm.
Um, and I think about how many of my own family has led the life they've led because at one point they had been slaves, you know, like, and obviously we don't know these people. That's three generations before us, but only three generations is when you're what
Mhm.
that's like. Well, only three generations
Mm.
is like your baby sister, right?
Yeah,
Her mama, her grandmama.
her
One
mom, my
more
God.
generation is if your sister, like, folk grandma's still alive and they doggone grandbabies having babies. That's four generations right there. You can see that whole thing right there.
Whole You
That's
can
how
see that whole
long it takes.
timeline.
Yeah, like that'd be like, and it's crazy. It's crazy, you
It's
know.
also a
And
short amount of time in comparison to everything
mhm,
that's happened in the world, which makes you question, like, dang, this can still be measured in human like lives and
yeah,
generations.
Like my family can trace it back almost all the way. Like we got like I want to say like 7 or 8 generations, and then it gets fuzzy. But
Wow.
we pretty much have we know who the progenitor of our family was, and that's so interesting
That's
to
something that
have.
Remick didn't have.
Yeah, exactly that. That's something he didn't have, and that's what made him so like desperate for Sammy's gift because he wanted to see them again, and because
Right.
he couldn't have it, he wanted it. He wanted to take it from him.
You want to take it from him. No, he wanted to take it for him. He
Yeah,
wanted to take. He had good intentions for Sammy. Good intentions with weird slob drooling down his mouth.
yeah,
I don't know how much I trust that, but I respect the hustle.
right. Like it clearly was a warped perception, but I mean, like the man came from Ireland, and
Mm-hmm.
he was the last one. Like there are so many significant moments showing that he wasn't just a villain. He wasn't just a bad guy. Like the moment they were like, "Y'all playing?" Oh, okay. Hey, Nia. So y'all, the dog wants
I
to
knew.
jump into. What else you have to say,
Right.
dog?
Yeah, she's talking. She's spending her game.
Yeah,
Dang,
she said.
man.
But
She must have hated that guy too. I respect it.
yeah, yeah, she don't like vampires. But nah, like when he asked at the door if Remick and his friends were clans, like clansmen. They were like
Hmm.
clan. Oh heck nah, man, what you talking about? He looked
Exactly.
actually like hurt. He was
Yeah,
like,
he
what do you
was
mean?
actually mad. Like,
Yeah. And then the other moment when he baptized Sammy, that was so interesting as a movie moment. That followed all the laws of cool. Like, and it was such a like, and if you're a spiritual or religious person, or even just interested in rituals, you know how significant baptism is. And not just baptism in like the sense of like modern Christianity or in modern Christianity, but also just as a ritual, like the idea and the act of cleansing oneself to be prepared as a vessel for something else. And the whole you're starting a new life thing and I'm welcoming you into the fold. Like, and I can't imagine what it's like to receive a baptism unwillingly. Like, that's scary to think
yeah,
about. That it's scary in a different way, but it was really cool because in that moment we see the binary between Remick and Sammy's father, who both wanted interesting things for him in a sense that they both wanted him on his side. They wanted him to abandon his gift and give up his gift or use it for their interests. And I was really mad at Sammy's dad. I hated his
yeah.
dad, dude.
I despised this bad. I was like, you are sucking the joy out of this kid, and he's just trying
Mhm.
to live, bro. He's just trying
Yeah,
to live.
cause put the guitar down, son. Put the guitar down, son. What do you mean?
What do
Your
you?
child just walked in. He just drove from the juke joint, bloodied. As soon as the sun came up, also I want to point out they went to church
They
early.
went to church early. Yeah, like as soon as the sun
Daybreak
came up.
to church? Are you kidding me? Hey, them
Yeah,
some God fearing souls.
wake
But
up for God.
wake up for God. Jesus said sin don't sleep, baby. He said the devil don't
Mhm.
sleep, so wake up.
Darn
Wake
tootin'.
up. But
And he came
Right.
in, he walked in, bro's shirt is literally half off. Like, how do you not ask
Literally.
your son, first of all, son, are you okay? Like, instead you use it as a demonstration for the people in your
Yeah.
church. Like, I'm
I
like,
could
what
not
about
live with
family?
that.
Nope.
And that was actually one of the things that kind of pushed me away from um I guess the best way to put it is that's one of the things that kind of pushed me away from organized religion for a bit. I was like, how much of this is performance?
Right.
Um, because what is that, man? Like, what is that?
What is that?
What moments do we have that people just use against us in those spaces? Like, a lot of the times people say God is punishing us, God is punishing us. And it's interesting because you go to other churches, they're like, God is so great, God would never, God is so forgiving and kind and wonderful and everything. But you talk to black folk about God, they're gonna say God is wrathful,
God
God
is
got
wrathful.
anger, God is
Yeah.
not pleased with us, we are
God got
oppressed,
plans for
all
you.
those things. Yeah, but I'll be wondering, I'll be asking those questions, and not in a way that's blasphemous, but just wondering, like, what is the root of that? And every time I'll say it's because of how we were introduced to like Christianity as black people. But that's not
Right.
really important. Um, so I want to talk more about Remick, but I want you to talk because I know you had a lot to say about Remick earlier when we talked off mic or whatever.
Hmm.
But you liked his character a lot. He interested you because you said something about the Irish.
I just think that Remick is a fascinating flip of the coin as an Irishman. That's a very intentional writing decision. As a writer, I'm trying to find ways of writing a story without using words and using symbolism and themes and parallels are so important to kind of illustrating what the story is trying to say. And Remick is such a fascinating character that, as an Irishman who was also um, subjugated to English reign and in indentured servitude for a long time with the famine and all of that, he completely he's as I guess the word is messed up and like as traumatized by what's happened to him and disconnected from the world around him. So he wants to make his own world. You feel that he wants to make his the his community and these people around him. Um but he's ended up instead of adopting the cultural mindset with Sammy and Smoke and Stack trying to bring those efforts back into a community and people around you. Instead, you wanted to make your own thing. Take other people into your own, I guess, house and build it yourself from the ground up, but not necessarily focused on what they want or how they would benefit up outside of what you give them. Like, and he really thinks he's saving them. He might actually be saving them, except they can never see the sun again. Is that a trade off that you would consider?
No, I
Absolutely
love the
not.
sun.
I like the sun. Look at my sunset cloud photos. You would understand. I got bangers. I want to keep having those. I want to keep seeing those sunrises. Um, and yeah, Remick, gosh, is such a not a unique villain, but one of those gray villains that doesn't take away from the fact that you hate him and that he
Mhm.
is bad, but that he's understandable and you understand how he got there, and that makes him far more fascinating. Like he came there, and obviously he's a vampire, so he's gonna want to suck blood. But what he said was, I need his gifts. I want to see what he sees.
Yep.
And that by not answering that question in the movie, I see what you're doing, Ryan Coogler. I'm not happy. I will give you my money. But by doing that, it keeps you on the edge of your toes, or it keeps you on the edge about who Remick is by not answering it. Like, oh, well, why would he want this? And things like that. When he dies, it's as tragic as it is like, thank goodness. I'm glad this freaking S Walker is dead.
I get that. I
What
get
do you
that.
think?
I
I just
think
love
that
villains like him.
I think like you said that gray villains, like Remick as a gray villain is a really good choice. I think I would never have considered placing myself in a role where the villain isn't necessarily a bad guy but a victim as well.
Yes.
And that's kind of a wave that's been coming on for a minute. But before I even talk about that, Remick was awesome. Remick was awesome because he was lost, he was hungry, and he was unconventional. That man dropped down from the sky on fire, and before then had been a very normal period piece kind of movie. And he
Literally.
just snapped us out of it. He was like, "Hey, guess what? I'm a vampire. I'm gonna get you Klansmen." And the Indians were like, "Well, not Indians. I'm sorry. The Native Americans were like, yeah, bro, I'm out." I was like, "Yeah, I'm
Yeah, it's
out.
like,
I ain't
yeah,
been about it.
y'all have screwed yourselves. Goodbye.
Yeah, y'all are dead. Bye." And they knew. They knew. But Remick wasn't even like oh, I'm finna kill everybody because I could kill everybody. He was I want everybody to be whole, one, safe, sound. And like you said, he just came up one trade-off. And it's interesting because, we make a lot of deals like that. We make a lot of deals, and people said that Remick was representative of a lot of things, but namely Hollywood and
Hollywood.
big industry artists and stuff like that. It's like, hey, you can have it all, but you're going to sacrifice all of the things that make you an artist. Are black people like I've always thought that black people were the ones loved by the sun,
Mm,
and not just because we get darker
the
within the
ones
sun, but
loved by the
because it's
sun.
just like the sun feels so good.
It does.
It
I was
feels
out
so
there today with my
revitalizing.
dog, Nia. Nia and I walked out there, and she wanted to go back, and I was like, "Wait, can we just stand here for a little bit
Yeah, like
and feel this?
it's beautiful, man. And I know not everybody can take the heat, not everybody can be
Feel
in
the
the sun
stream.
all the time, but
Just feel the stream."
I've always really appreciated that we have the time as people to just be in the sun and be okay with the sun. I know it didn't
Hmm.
always serve as a place of safety, like the nighttime keeps us covered. How many times did we blanket of the night? But
Hmm.
I appreciate so much, so deeply that I can be in the sun. I would never trade the sun. But I think similarly, like with artists, it's like, will you trade what makes you you in order to achieve these heights? Or will you stay where you are now and sacrifice anything you could have been
Really.
because you don't want to take that? You don't want to take that. You want to skip the hard part. Yeah, you can
Mm-hmm.
go down that path and risk having nothing. If Sammy took that deal, he would have become a great artist. He would have still done everything he wanted to do, and he would have done it with style.
Mm-hmm.
But what did it come? What was the cost? What was the result in that? And it was just a very, very interesting character because Remick didn't want wrong for
Whoa,
Sammy. He just what?
you. Whoa, whoa. You just. You may have cooked because Sammy in the end does achieve those heights, but he doesn't have to sacrifice anything of the sort to attain that for himself. He didn't have to give up seeing the sun. He didn't have to be immortal to do what he wanted to do and feel great by doing it.
Yeah,
That's so interesting. That makes the ending scene far more impactful. Or it makes him refusing his father and that kind of community and what he was offering far more like profound because he he followed his own ambition. He followed his own drive, even through all that hurt. Like, wow, that's so cool.
I mean, he was a great character, but even then, it's just like it was like it wasn't just. I think that he did sacrifice something. It's just that he wasn't. He was the result of sacrifices, but he didn't sacrifice anyone. That guitar
Yes,
was passed to him by everybody who died in that movie. They were constantly like, "Sammy, take your
Sammy
guitar.
take a
Sammy, like,
guitar.
take this skill."
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because I want to say it was Stack who was like, "Man, take this skill and leave. Like, if you want to play, you
Yes,
can play, but don't be here anymore." I
won't
just
be
can't
here
remember which
anymore.
one of the twins was, but it was a very fun scene. It was not a fun scene, but it was an interesting scene. And I don't believe in getting scared in horror movies, so I look at
Mm-hmm.
them in the lens of philosophy, anthropology, because I would hate to get jump scared. I hate jump scares. I don't
Yeah,
like being scared at
same.
all. I don't know why people would pay for that attention, but
Because they want to jump,
it,
and they want to be scared, and they're
man,
probably into it as much as you are, except they're not as, I don't know,
they're just
resilient
not into it in that same way. I guess I don't
or
know,
squirmish.
but yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about in the movie. Like, honestly, 10 out of 10 movie. Great job. Ryan Coogler, you're amazing. I
Well,
do want to know why you wrote that movie. I want to know what
yeah.
inspired you to do that. But I appreciate
Well,
that you did.
well, I'll tell you that he was probably inspired by so much like black like literature and
Yeah.
pieces of
but-
media like that. Positive. It feels so injected with like history lessons. Um, and just talking about like movie structure in general, I wanted to go back to that point of the beginning of the movie is so much slower and paced like a different movie. You don't know it's a vampire movie until you see Remick falling out the sky, absolutely smoldering. And I love that because he trust the audience to buy into what he's trying to sell. He let himself set up this movie so everything nearing the end hit that much harder. And I appreciate it. I appreciate that. 10 out of 10 movie. Also Anne versus what's her
Annie,
name? Yes, Annie. Annie versus
Mary.
Mary. Oh my gosh. You know
That
me and
was,
names, bro.
it's all good,
I
man.
I love Annie.
Yeah.
Annie was such a pivotal part of that movie, but like also such a background character. Like she kind of was keeping everything moving, the gears turning, the foundation. Like she kept the foundation together. That such a sleeper role. Shout out the actress. as well.
Hmm. Side note, literally just saw this, but a New York Supreme Court judge has ordered a hand recount in Rockland County after Kamala Harris reportedly received 0 votes in multiple districts during the 2024 election, an outcome experts say is statistically impossible.
Duh. It's not as
Okay,
if
well,
that's actually insane, but Elon said so. So,
he said it. He said it. He did it. But I mean,
like,
at this point, who knows, bro? Like, I don't know, man.
I
I
don't
just
know.
want to make it home at the end of the day.
Facts.
It's exhausting. I don't know if I can say we've lost or they won, but I just know I'm scared for others, and I want it to be less of that. So I'm not even gonna go on that rampage like I usually do.
Right.
But Annie and Mary, they were crazy. They had a lot of differences. You know, they kind of represented the colors really well. Like they had the same colors as their associated twin. Like Stack was
Yes.
red and Smoke was blue, and so was Annie and so was Mary.
Mm.
But Mary was so like red, like in passion and lust, but also in anger. She was so dedicated to proving herself. She was so prideful, and I get that. But God, she ruined everything.
She ruined everything. And I mean,
But that
like, it's
wasn't
not
her
her
fault.
fault. She was just white. It's not her fault.
Yeah,
Not her fault. She
yeah,
was just white. She didn't
and
know
that
any better.
and that's definitely a subject to talk about. Like white people in black spaces, like get out.
Okay.
Um,
With that being said, though.
but I don't mean it in the sense like I don't mean it because it's unwelcome. Like I do,
Hmm.
but I
It
don't
is
mean it in the
absolutely
sense
welcome.
that they're unwelcome. Like oh, you can't hang out with us, you can't jive with us, you can't kick it, you ain't cool. I'm saying in the sense like when you come into a black space, respect the customs and the requests of the black space. You're not
Hmm.
finna come up here and destroy the vibe because you don't know how to kick it. If you
And you
can't,
can't speak for
if
them.
right, if you can't adhere to the conditions and the peace that the system brings itself, then why are you putting yourself in a position where the system has to bring itself out of you? Or it's you
Absolutely.
out of itself. Like you should not be like, I've seen some white girls come and kick it. You know, like for real. Like
Hmm.
you go to a club, you go to a party, whatever have you, you got doggone Isabel in the corner turning up. She doing her thing, she get in the middle, she know how to crump. I'm like, okay, girl, breathe in, breathe out. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, hit the movements, hit the mode. But then you have other young women who come in and they adopt these personalities, these personas. They try to fit in where they don't fit. And we all played the peg game. So why Miss Square are you trying to be a circle right now? Be yourself. It's okay. We don't hate you for it. Um. Oh my God, I love my voice. But when people try to adopt characteristics of themselves that aren't really themselves, they try to prove themselves in ways that aren't necessarily their own. You can see how it affects the situation, the environment around them, because suddenly people have to work a little bit harder to have a good time. And that
Yeah.
movie was a lot about people who'd work really hard to have a good time at the end of the day. The wooden nickels were so significant of that, symbols of having a good time. And on Annie, on the other hand, and like going from the wooden nickels to Annie, because she was like, we taking these wooden nickels. We gonna let them have a good time. These people work hard.
Yeah.
She acted like an anchor the entire movie. She
Sorry, movie.
protected, she led, she understood.
Hmm.
And the best thing about her understanding was that while she understood, she also accepted. She saw what it was to be. She made the early preparations and she looked out. Without Annie, none of them would have survived that night. But
No.
that being said, they kicked that brother out after he
Yeah,
threw up. He threw
like,
up.
bro,
He
why would
threw
you
up
threw
and
out?
they threw him out. Oh my God, that was crazy.
They,
Oh, that was so crazy. I
they
felt
were
so
sussed
bad.
out so bad. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute,
Oh,
he's good. He's
I was
good.
like, yo, they ain't never got that, brother. What y'all mean? Good Lord, no. But anyways, 10 out of 10 movie, 10 out of 10 experience.
Facts. 10 out of 10.
Mm.
10 out of 10 experience. 10 out of 10 villains. It makes me think about other villains that I've been coming across. And a lot of the stuff I'm watching, like Devil May Cry. Have you seen the new Devil May Cry, the animated
Oh,
one?
watch it was really good.
Right? Let's talk about
Yeah.
that. Let's talk about the rabbit. I'm only on
Oh,
episode 7, so he just got both of the halves, and from the demon guy, and is like, okay, well, time to start something.
I'll be real with you. You don't want to talk about this on episode 7. You want to come back and talk about
Oh, really? Okay,
it.
okay, okay,
You want to
okay,
talk.
okay.
You want to come back and talk about that. But I see where you're headed. I see you're trying to talk towards gray characters.
Mhm.
So I'll raise you, Severus Snape.
Yes. Talk about an antagonist, not a villain. Potter, Potter,
Potter.
get your butt back in your seat. Like,
Mhm.
dang, why you gotta be so sassy to bro?
Man, because his
He's
daddy
not
took
his
his
dad.
girl. That's
He's
why.
not. You know what? I guess I'd be a butthole of him too,
Plus, his dad
just a
was his
little bit.
bully. James Potter turned out to be a total butthole, which was unexpected
Double
because
homicide.
Harry and Lily were so cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something considered, I guess, when they wrote the book. Like, when JK wrote the book, I think that's what she
Mm-hmm.
had in mind. Like, I'm going to flip him with this one. But like you said, he was an antagonist. Like, he was such a character. So
He's such a
different.
character. So
He was so
different.
different.
Dang. You know what? You're kind of right. He was such a good like force in the movies at least because I haven't read the books. I don't know how different he is in the books, but I really enjoyed. Hmm?
You didn't read the book?
No, I haven't read Harry Potter.
I should. I guess this is how people
Hey,
feel when I say I didn't watch the movie. But like,
that's
yo,
exactly how I felt. Yeah, well, I don't really like Harry Potter. I was a Percy Jackson kid, so I was Percy Jackson all the way through. So it was you were either
okay,
Percy Jackson kid or a Harry Potter kid, unless you're
I
you're different.
I disagree, man. I think that people who like Harry Potter should like Percy Jackson because they have both boy choice and hero in a world where he's not the same. That he goes to a place where he is the same, fights a character
Mhm.
who's actually different, being led and coerced by another character, and then the character who he thought was the enemy was actually a hero, and the thought was a villain is actually who a hero who he thought was a villain is actually a hero. You know what I'm saying? Like
That is literally
it's the
the same.
same
Yeah, the
structure.
same structure.
Stop hating. Enjoy the books. You know, but not everybody. It's a different time, man. I get it. But
Right.
you're right. Antagonists, especially uncommon antagonists like those. But I think that
Who's gray?
Snape was just
Snape is
neutral.
gray. He's
He was
neutral,
very
right?
gray.
He's a
But I think Remick
spy,
was
but he's also like trying to do his best. He's also protecting the
mhm,
kids, but he's also formerly under Voldemort lineage to Voldemort. Like he wants to be fair at the very least. And that
no,
does
he
make
didn't
him a
want to be
traitor.
fair. He was playing both roles. He had been a spy
Mhm.
since the first Death Eaters. You know, like
True.
Snape as a character, he stepped up to the plate when no one else would because it was expected for him to be that way. He played into their stereotypes of him. They played into his
Mm.
expectations, and that he did it so well. You know, like the part of Snape that was so appreciated, and if you read the books, you'll see this. But they make you
Mhm.
hate Snape in the first 3 books.
That's
In
what I
Goblet of
hear.
Fire, you hate Snape. You think Snape set up Harry. In Order of
Mm.
the Phoenix, Snape is the enemy. But then, come Half-Blood Prince, you're like, oh, you're good. And then in
Mhm.
Deathly Hollows, you're like, oh, you're
Oh, you're
good.
good.
Ooh, now my girl can't listen to this episode. She
Why?
hasn't
Because
finished
they
them.
talk about Harry Potter.
She
She hasn't
hasn't finished
finished
the
them.
books. Nope, she hasn't finished Half-Blood
Oh,
Prince or Deathly Hollows. We set ourselves up. Lost a view.
uh,
It's okay. But we'll just tell her not to listen to the 40-minute mark. Anyways, on to just a bit of a more in-depth display of those characters. I would rank that Remick is a chaotic. No, what would he be? He would be. Yeah, I'd say he's
cha-
chaotic neutral.
wouldn't he be
Chaotic
chaotic
evil.
good? Wouldn't he
Yeah,
be
he's chaotic good. He is chaotic
chaotic
good.
good? Yeah,
He's
because he's
chaotic
like
good.
it's
No,
his
neutral.
own morals, it's
Neutral.
his own stuff. Neutral. I was gonna say chaotic
Neutral.
neutral is more like
Because he
because it's
punishes.
not. Yeah, he punishes. He's not over taking any one of his vampire newbies and slamming them up against a wall. Like he's not
Right.
against that.
But then with Snape, I'd say that he is.
Lawful.
I'd say he is lawful evil. No, Snape isn't evil.
No. But evil isn't lawful. Evil isn't evil. Lawful
No,
evil is
it's
like
evil that abides by the rules. Like
yeah.
he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy. But I don't think that Snape has ever been a bad guy. The point is that Snape is actually so good that he sacrificed his entire life.
For
Ugh.
this.
Yeah, like I'd put him in the lowest I give him is neutral. But
Yeah.
he definitely belongs in some level of good leaning category. I know, but it's not chaotic. It's not. Um, But if you're talking about an absolute villain, chaotic evil, um, the Riddler, the
The Riddler
Joker,
is chaotic evil.
honestly, pretty much any Batman villain that's not Doctor Freeze, Mister Freeze.
And Bane. Bane is
I actually don't know Bane's story.
really Bane is TLDR. Bane is a really intelligent gangster. Super intelligent gangster. Grew up in prison. He has the venom that he injects in himself. Normally, he's not only beating Batman to an inch of his life, but he's also outsmarting him,
Right.
and he's putting together. He's like Kingpin for Batman, if I'm being honest.
How does
Like,
that make him in any way not evil?
but he's not. But it's he has a code. He has a code that he goes under for himself because he's about
So
the
he's lawful
community.
evil.
He's about building his own community. Yeah, he's lawful evil. He's not chaotic
Okay.
evil like Riddler.
He's
And
like
then
Doctor Doom.
he's like Doctor. He's like Doctor Doom. He's like
Thank you.
Doctor Doom. Very,
Okay.
very much so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate this new wave of like, I guess, the meter when it comes to villains. Like, I know it's always been there, and maybe we're just older so we can appreciate it more. But I definitely appreciate that villains aren't always so one to one. I'm
Yeah.
bad, you're good. The binary in life that we live by is definitely something that has to shift and change. Nothing is ugly, nothing is pretty, nothing is bad, nothing is good,
No.
and nothing is black, nothing is white. And obviously, there's exceptions to that rule. There's nothing that's everything is not dark charcoal gray. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes it is black, but it being the end of the spectrum doesn't mean that that's all there is to the
There's two
spectrum. And
respectful.
I can really appreciate movies taking on that responsibility of clarifying that, because we all know that the world is moved by its media. You know, so especially
Mhm.
by people. But you didn't hear that from me.
Mhm.
Um,
What? I didn't hear that.
but to shift a little bit from how the world absorbs its villains, I want to ask you, Rich, how you yourself treat yourself as a villain. My question to you is, how do we serve as villains to ourselves? And that's a question that may lead in different directions. So is it that you set yourself up, the current you, as a villain, and the hero is the future you, and you fight against those versions? Or does it feel more like the man I face, Dr. Jekyll versus Mr. Hyde, where sometimes I'm great and sometimes I'm bad, and I don't know who is who anymore, but I feel like I'm splitting apart? Is it a more of a
Mm.
situation where your environment is creating you to be a villain, and you are a hero battling against your environment to become more than that? Just basically, what's the battleground in your life right now?
What is the battleground of my life? Well, my life is so singularly all over the place. Um, Villains are not born, they're made. And sometimes you can make yourself into a villain. Like something I watched recently was Arcane season 2. Don't roast me, don't care, took too long, doesn't matter. Not the greatest thing I've seen, but Victor
Ooh,
and I unfortunately shared in that idea of self-destructing your identity to build a new one to create something more perfect, something that's not broken or a lot better than what you are now versus just being Victor and staying Victor and that being enough, And that's that kind of battleground for what did he call it? Glorious evolution.
mm,
That's really, and in theory it sounds good. It sounds like all encompassing. It sounds like you're doing better for yourself, but really what you're doing is not giving yourself um, enough small victories in a day to see the big ones when you get them. Mm, it's not a battleground. Everyone deserves a Superman Fortress of Solitude.
yeah,
But you got to have that in your mind. And if you can't have that in your mind, you have to find somewhere where you have to find somewhere where you can, I guess, bring yourself back to center.
that's true.
Like, yeah. What about you?
Mm.
What makes you the villain to yourself?
I think that right now, I fight really hard to remind myself it doesn't all have to be done right now. I'm fighting a battle against time itself, I feel. I think that in a lot of ways, I'm overly dedicated to my future. I'm always in a rush. I always want to have it now. I'm too passionate, I'm too focused, I'm too angry But a lot of that comes from me just wanting everything right now. You can ask anyone, you know me, you've known me for years, you've lived with me, you've eaten, you've grown up with me. You've seen those signs. But I'm impatient. I'm impatient because I don't know what tomorrow is. I've always struggled against the idea of my own mortality. And a lot of that has made me really sensitive to time.
Mm.
So when I look at my life, I'm always like, did I do it in enough time? Did I make it worthwhile? Did I leave this place knowing that I made this place better? And that's the problem with me right now. I'm so dedicated to
Absolutely.
making a change that myself anymore. I literally feel like I've augmented every part of my body, and the only things left are my heart and my head. And I'm battling constantly whether I want to sacrifice my emotional stability or my mental capability in order to
To get
provide
where
the
you want.
roles. Yeah, and really just use all the tools to my disposal. And I think that that guy, that augmented version of myself, the one so desperate and so needing for approval that I can't see that I've already been approved and loved and appreciated and celebrated, is the guy I struggle against every day, because there's days where I don't give a doggone. And I love that guy, because there's so
Right.
many more days when all I can do is bash myself for not being everything I should already be. So when people ask, when I ask the question, is this your forced solitude, or is this Lex Luthor's lab, or whatever I said, or whatever
Lex
you
Luthor's
said,
Lab. Yeah, was whatever
it
you said.
it
Lex Luthor's
feels
Lab.
like I'm setting up the room for the hero, but the villain likes to go around and thrash some stuff and move out. He's like almost like a really ugly roommate, you know?
Mm.
Um, and it's really weird, because even in moments where I talk about it, it sounds silly, it sounds performative, it sounds like it's not really me talking about anything. It almost feels like this is a layer above something else. And I can even say I'm fighting against maintaining that my identity is to remove the identity I've placed on top of me, you know? And that's the battleground I'm in right now. Um, but I don't think I'm a villain in a traditional sense, as much as I want to say that I'm just not my hero.
Mm.
I asked on my story today the same question I asked you, and I literally only got one response because I asked it super duper late.
Right.
Um, but one was, my guy was just saying it's very hard to stay present. He's always worried about the future and the past, and I
It is hard
resonate
to
with
say
that.
present.
I very much so resonate with that. I have lost a lot of people in my life, and I've gained so much more than that, but I can only focus on what I've lost or who I'll lose in the future.
Mm.
Like, there's moments where I'm reminded of that so much that I will do anything in my power to not let them go. Like, I had a friend, we were drinking, everybody was having a great time, and I looked at him, he was about to get in the car. I'm like, yo, please do not get in that car. You know?
Right.
And I don't support drunk driving. I never will. I never have. It's never been my style. I avoid it at all costs. Inebriation and any kind, any intoxication, any of that, like, it's like, put it
Against
down
the
before
wall.
you. It's just not number one. It's no. We'll Uber. You know. But
Absolutely.
it's funny because those moments remind me that my fear of losing people is also rooted in me caring for them, but also just searching for control. So I have to remind myself, okay, Zeke, you can do this in this instance, but if you're just hanging out with the guys and they had a beer 2 hours ago, you can't be like, nah, you're drunk, don't go out there, you're crazy.
Right.
Because being real, no, they're fine.
Right.
Hopefully
They're
they've
fine.
eaten enough, they drank enough water, they've taken a couple of tinkles and the binkles, but they're fine. And so the goal of my battle right now is to be accepting of all those thoughts, but also aware that those thoughts are originating from me wanting control, and I have to relinquish that
Right.
sometimes. So that's just how I think and how I view it. Um, and I know it's
If
not always the easiest thing to accomplish.
It's never easy to fight against yourself. It's never easy to. I literally see you wanting the goal so fast that you'll get the goal and be like, wait, but this goal, it isn't enough. Okay, there's a new goal. There's a higher
Yep.
goal now. It's like that is. I've seen how that can spiral, and that can be hard to control. And it's a aspect of yourself that you can make for the better, but that doesn't need to be erased. It's not inherently bad. It's just how you are able to use it that makes it good or bad for you. And
Yeah.
your mind is definitely a room that's full of things.
It is.
And they're
It is.
definitely moving stuff around.
It is. It definitely is. At first, it was I have to conquer substance abuse. I can't just drink as much as I do. I can't party. I can't be out all the time. So I did that. And then I was like, well, no, I can't be social. I can't get out. I can't do all this and the third all the time. I stopped doing that. Then it was like, well, Z, you have ADHD. You have to focus on this. You have to focus on that. Why don't you focus? You focus, focus. And so I finally figured out how to focus. And then I'm like, nah, you don't have the tools. You don't have the success. You got to do this and the third. And then it was a money thing. And I was like, you got to pay the money. You got to pay that. And I the money. I'm like, nah, I need more. I need to do this. And I'm like, these are not just goals, these are shackles.
Right. These are shackles.
I have to recognize that. I have to remember and remind myself that life is not always about just how much I can push out in 1 second, but how much I can appreciate and learn from in that second. It has to be an equal exchange. And part of the equal exchange is that I have to put down all of that stuff sometimes just to remind myself that life is worth living. Not in the sense that I want to die, but saying that I want to be present. I want to
Present and
accept and
experience them.
see. Yeah, like how many of these moments are we going to have? How many days did we think we were going to have a podcast? We were going to step up and pull things to the next level for ourselves, have inspiration, have jobs, have careers, have educations, things like that. Like I got friends, we've got friends. I even said it when I was younger, where we were always like, man, I didn't know I was going to make it to 18. I didn't know I was going to make it to 21. How many times do we say that before we stop? Because by the
Yeah.
time we make 65, then it's going to be like, dang, I'm still
Period.
here. That's crazy.
Fact.
On to the next one. I'm grateful. Thank you. God be the glory. But right now, while we take it for granted, there's other folk out here who have to live in panic. They have to live in stress. They have to live in hurt. And in no way do I want to make my entire life about just worrying about what I got to do next. When there's people out here who don't know about their next. So it's like the number one weapon I have against the monster I know lives within me is knowing that I don't have to move faster, but I have to inspire others around me to appreciate those who can't move as fast. So if that
Mm.
means doing community service, that means doing community works, if that means being a mentor, a peer, a friend, a listener, any of those things, those are the roles I like to fill because without those roles, without that sense of responsibility, I lose track of what it means personally to be in a place of genuine, life and living.
Turning your negative thoughts and aspects into positive action.
Yes, sir.
That's what it should be. I feel like if I were to describe my mind as Fortress of Solitude or Lex Luthor's cave, it's more like a void with the hero trying to peek any light in there, as much light as he can get, and then light peeks through, and then it shines through, and then the void slowly closes it and
Jesus,
hardens
you
itself.
are your century.
I am the century.
How did that happen?
Minus the hubris, or
Yeah,
the
the
grand,
ego. Like, oh, why would I not be God?
but it's all ego, even
Yeah,
even negative ego is still ego. It's something that's holding you back as some way of protecting you, or some way of presenting to the world what you want them to see. And that's the hardest part, is like breaking down that cycle
yeah,
and really letting the light in. Yeah, like I said, I resonated with the Void in that movie because he's not a villain of circumstance or other people or negative traits, but he's self hatred that kind of encapsulates him
mm,
and then ends up affecting other people around him. That's how that manifests. That's a antagonist that you relate to, even in some small way, because you know that when you are in your funk, you can't see outside of yourself, and so
yeah,
you end up hurting people. You don't know that. All you can do is you just got to learn. It's hard to learn what those are and kind of how to focus that in. But once you do learn it, that's the first step. Staying in the present moment when you feel your environment change around you, when you feel your mind kind of r- I don't know. I don't know what universal feelings like sensations are for everyone except for like
Yeah.
yawning. But it's like if if your brain tingles when you feel yourself kind of sinking in that mode, you have to do the opposite. You have to find your way back to the present.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard not to be the villain in your own lives and go into self destruction. A self destructive journey sounds so nice. It sounds so nice in concept because
Yeah.
you think of all the things that you get to do when you're on it. But you're not seeing that the first word that you said was self destruction. Was that you didn't care what this did to you. You wanted it for the thrill or for the joy or whatever. And it sounds
Yeah.
tempting until you realize that you're hurting yourself in some way. You're not opening yourself up to the good that you can have.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally that. It's so easy to just break it down. But I think this a lot. Discovering yourself and like reminding yourself that life is truly like worth living sometimes involves breaking down those self-destructive behaviors in earnest, and this will sound crazy. Um, those self-destructive behaviors can work as long as you remember you got to clean your room back up.
Mhm.
Like I rearrange my room a lot. I constantly do it. And if you stop halfway through rearranging your room, I'm sure you've known this, but it will make everything worse. Your room will look like crap, and it will
Very
feel
well.
like crap. You will not feel good. You won't look good. Everything will come a little bit slower to you. But the second you finish rearranging, everything is a little bit better. It's the same thing as driving a new car after a long time or going on a different adventure. It's changing your environment. And when you're changing your environment and when you're doing the things to change your personal space and your personal environment, it's very difficult for it not to feel that way. That's just self-destructive. And those growing pains are so painful, but at the end of that journey and genuine to God, at the end of that, there is a benefit there. It's coming for you. It's hunting you down. It's searching for you to recognize that the next level is here. Like people, and I know I just talked a lot about my religious standings, but my mom said something to me the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. She was talking about how um this woman she kind of saw praying on the internet
Hmm.
was asking God to make her ready or like ready to receive or ready to grow so she may receive the gifts that she's been bestowed or been in
Hmm.
queue for or whatever have you, and just being like, God, if I am ready, make it so. If it is time, make it so. Please, God, blah blah blah. And it reminded me that just because like humans in general are vessels, we're very receptive, but we have to make sure we're ready first. And so these self-destructive habits and behaviors sometimes are the results of us moving too quickly and not realizing that we're not ready yet. And so when we step into these places, these arenas where we battle it out with our villains and become the heroes, we have to remember that sometimes it's not just about can I slug it out in a moment, but am I prepared to clean the room after? And that was something we took away from Thunderbolts. Like he was in it. Like Bob was hurting. Sentry is hurting
It's hurting
as the
bad.
void.
Hmm.
But the second it was over, and the second people looked at him and hugged him and showed him they were still there for him and understood that he had to be somewhere where it would flourish and help him grow, it helped him. He was in a place and it will continue to help him, going forward. And so to apply that to our own lives, any moment where you find yourself in self-destructive behavior and you're surrounded by people that encourage this behavior, ask yourself if they'll be A, here for the cleanup, and B, are you ready to have to clean up? Because if you're not, don't do it. The same way you don't
Right.
throw a party, but you go to the party because you don't want to clean up that room, you can do the same thing. But you have to remember, sticking to the example that we are the room, that sometimes people come into your life to party and expect you to clean up the mess. Oh my gosh, Zeke, you're
Just keep recording. Some people come in to ruin the party. They get to clean up the mess.
you have to clean up that mess. And they're gonna go. They're gonna go home after their few drinks, their throw ups, their messes. They're gonna go home and you're gonna clean up that mess. But don't let nobody party in your home if you ain't ready to clean up that mess. Oh my god, that was a man. Put it on a sheet. Put it on a t. I have a
Put it
bar
on a
counter.
t-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Bar counters up. It's at 9.
Uh, right. But yeah, man. It's too easy to fall victim to those problems
It's too easy,
where
especially now. It's just you feel that
yeah,
individualism. You feel like you have to do it by yourself. You feel like you
yeah,
have to make it out the mud in
but you
some
don't.
way. So you don't have to. No one. You don't have to. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to. Other people have to do it as well. So why not share in that burden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have people who are willing to stay after at that party and clean up with you should cherish those people because they are worth every single penny, nickel, dime, quarter, half dollar, whole dollar coin, freaking $2 bill, 10, 5, well, 5, 10, doggone $20, $50, $100 bill that you can muster, and every ounce of gold. Because there is nobody worth more in your life aside from you, family, and friends than someone who is really willing to embark on the journey to clean up that room with you. And that's not meaning you put everything on them. That don't mean you give them a broom and sit down somewhere, y'all. But it means even that little bit of encouragement can go a long way. We were talking earlier about motivation, Rich, and I said that to him, I said that relying purely on motivation is kind of like going to space on a whole bunch of tiny explosions. Just pow, 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 pow. But
But
sometimes,
drive.
yeah, but sometimes drive is what you need. Drive is going to be that continuous momentum that take you there. You know what I mean? So that's instead of pow, 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 you going bow. You know,
Bow.
you going all the way, but you're going not because it's motivating, but because you know there's an end goal. There's a point to be made. And right now, all you're doing is following a road that you've been placed on, whether it be from God, whether it be from your friends, your family, the one that you've chosen and selected. You got a road in front of you, baby. So you can pick it up, one foot in front of the other, get to work. You know what I mean? Or you can keep on waiting to just take them hops, take them explosions to the next place you're gonna be at. But just know if you
Exactly.
always wait on motivation, if you always waiting for somebody to tell you, oh, this is hard, do that, you're gonna find yourself sitting around way too much. You're gonna find yourself neglecting not only just your future,
But
but
your
everything
present.
around you. Yeah, man. Yeah. Your present. Dang it, I wish I said that. That would have been a bar. Good job.
Gotta pick
But
it up.
yeah, man. But that's all for me, man. My sage wisdom is over with.
That's
Attract, you
uh
can let
that's
us out.
that's all from me, guys. Remember to follow us. I really appreciate you guys listening to Think Sync Podcast. And follow us on our socials. We have Instagram, we have Blue Sky, we have our YouTubes, our Spotify. Please listen and engage with us. Tell us what you think about what we talk about. How are you a villain to yourselves? And how do you stop yourself from villainy? And with that said, remember, it's sink or swim. I'll see you
Don't
guys
drown,
soon.
baby.
Don't
All right,
drown.
good.